They said his room was raided, but his wasn't. No, it's a terrible thing.
Okay,
Not even actually
so
believable.
they went to a magistrate. Merrick Garland has said, he came out and he said, I authorize this. Now, what's interesting is they went to a magistrate right here in Florida.
That's right.
A magistrate who had already previously recused himself from a case involving you because he was prejudiced against you. Okay, I understand that was, months earlier. Why, then, didn't he recuse himself in this case? And then part two of this question is this. They took your passport, they took your medical records, they took your tax records, and probably the scariest part to me, and this is why a broad warrant like this to me would be dangerous. We do have a Fourth Amendment. They also took, 500 pages of attorney-client privilege information. Have you gotten that back, by the way?
A lot. I don't know. I really don't know. They took a lot. I think they took my will. I found out yesterday. I said, where is it?
Am I in it?
I think they took my will. It could cause a lot of problems.
No.
That could cause a lot of problems if that gets published from people that won't be so happy or maybe will be very happy.
Okay.
But no, I think they took my will. No, it's a horrible thing.
But wait a minute. But why
they shopped.
This guy?
They shopped. They went to a magistrate that hates me, a magistrate that recused himself not long ago in another case because he hated Trump. He's a Clinton person and an Obama person, and I understand that, but he hated Trump. And for a smaller case that was less meaningful, he decided to recuse himself. For a very important case for the country, he decided that I'll take this one. Now, he didn't do it because of his hatred of Trump. I don't know why he hates me, but he hates me. Maybe he doesn't like strong military, low taxes, good education.
He might like $6 a gallon gasoline.
Well, he's got it. He's got it.
He does in many places. Let me go through this. Before you left the White House, please explain the process. From my understanding, what I've read, you have the GSA. They pack all the boxes. Okay. Did you pack any boxes?
No. They work together with people in the White House. I don't know how you would classify them, but GSA was involved. That's government services. They're fantastic people. And they packed them. And not only that, and they brought them in, along with people in the White House. I don't know who they are, but there are a lot of people working in the White House. They packed them up, but not that clothing, massive amounts of pictures. You know, they take so many pictures every day, and they give you copies of all this stuff. And it's boxes and boxes of pictures, newspaper articles, tremendous, even kitchen things. You have tremendous amounts of different items. Much clothing, I mean, shirts and everything, sports gear. So all of this stuff. Now, just to show you, there are many pictures of this stuff standing on the sidewalk outside, not in the basement. Not in the basement. They're standing outside. I was going to say like Joe, but I decided not to because I want to be a very nice person.
But
listen, Sean, standing outside boxes, all these boxes, getting ready to be put by the GSA, I assume, into a truck and brought down to Palm Beach. There was nothing that was hiding. And if you look at the Presidential Records Act, this was what happens. You get together with GSA. Now, you have to understand, they bring it down, but NARA, and you talk and you work and you negotiate. I mean, they did it. It's not that old. I think in the 1970s, exactly for this. And we were having very nice discussions, no problem. And then all of a sudden we got hit very hard by the FBI.
Let's backtrack a little. In January of this year, the National Archives Record Administration, I guess they had been negotiating or they came and got 15 boxes. My understanding is that they sent you a letter thanking you and your team for their cooperation.
They actually thanked us, yeah.
They thanked you. Okay. Right. And then so at that point, what was your involvement in the process? Did you ever? Not
much of an involvement other than we had boxes. And again, many of these boxes had other things, you know, many newspapers, literally massive amounts of newspapers and pictures. But there were a lot of boxes for a lot of different things. But they actually wrote a letter, thank you very much for your cooperation, effectively. And we were doing that, which is exactly what we're supposed to do based on the Presidential Records Act. And Sean, we were doing that, and we continued to do it, and then we got hit by, it was really a break-in by the
Is it because
FBI.
It was so voluminous, the number of, papers?
Well, it was out. You have pictures of it. Actually, you have pictures of it. pretty much, I think, many pictures of people. I think there were GSA, mostly people, some people in the White House, standing outside of the White House. Other people were coming up and taking pictures. If we wanted to do this, we'd do it through the basement, and we wouldn't let anybody take pictures. We had nothing to hide.
Did you ever at any point deny any access from anyone in the from NARA or from the DOJ or the FBI access? Because in June, my understanding is the DOJ, the FBI guys were here, and they saw remaining 10 boxes, which they ended up taking in the raid. And a couple of days later, they asked you and your team to put a padlock on it. And that day, were they free to take those documents with them? Was there any disagreement about that?
Yeah, you said access. I'm not sure they asked for access, per se.
They were shown the boxes.
I thought we were having a very good conversation. Even when they went downstairs, the attorneys went downstairs, showed them the room, showed them the boxes. I thought it was a very routine thing. And again, if you look at the law or the act or whatever, the Presidential Records Act, it basically said everything that we were doing, we should be doing. We can talk to them. Now, when they're here, we could do lots of things. I think we had good security. We had, as you know, we had unbelievable people. And they're all over Mar-a-Lago, as happens to a former president, et cetera, et cetera. I hate to use the word former because I have a lot of problems with what happened. But the fact is, and we wouldn't be having all these problems that we have right now, by the way, with Ukraine and Russia talking about nuclear weapons now.
I want to get to all of this.
And all of that, because what's happening in the world is horrible. But we had good discussions as per the whole Records Act, Presidential Records Act. And then all of a sudden, we were surprised. I was very surprised. By the way, if we don't have good discussions, if you can't agree with them, there's like a process that you go through, and I think that the president predominates in the end. Mm-hmm. It's his choice in the end.
Let me stop here. I started this show with a monologue.
Yeah.
In that monologue, I pointed out Hillary Clinton, which is I guess the closest case in modern history that this mirrors your case, except hers were electronic. And you heard Jim Comey, I just played it, top secret classified information on our server.
Right.
All these email chains. Then we have the deleted emails, the bleach bit of the other 33,000 emails, the hammers, the devices, the SIM cards, all those things that I mentioned.
Right.
So we have a similar case. And then you heard James Comey say no prosecutor would ever prosecute. But they're threatening to prosecute you. What is the difference between what you're describing with they found apparently 101 classified documents in the boxes that they found. They found 11,000 pages that weren't classified.
But John, you don't know what they found, because they wouldn't let any representative. They had our lawyers. It was 100 degrees out. They had our lawyers standing outside, not even allowing them into a building where they had air conditioning. It's a big complex. And you had you had a lot of people here. I don't know how many, but you had a lot of people. They wouldn't let anyone inside. And, if you look at NARA and if you look at the FBI over the last 10, 15 years, and if you look at all of the things at the Justice Department, what's taken place, when you look at what took place with the Russia hoax, Sean, they spied on my campaign. What could be worse? Could you imagine, take Obama, if we spied on his campaign? It would probably be death sentence. They spied on my campaign even when I was in the White House. And who would think that this is possible? But they spied. So, we're not dealing with a lot of trust here. And the public isn't either. The American public is really angry.
So then this is a big part of what I want to get into. And that is, I mentioned, for example, 33,000 deleted emails. We talked about Hunter Biden's laptop. We talked about in that laptop, Joe Biden is implicated many times by his own son. He didn't want to pay all of Dad's bills. Right. He didn't want to pay for his repairs. The big guy gets his cut. Tony Bobolinsky confirmed the big guy is Joe Biden. He met with, we now know, about 14 of the foreign business partners, which means he lied during the campaign. You don't see anything happen there. For 3 years.
Nothing's going to happen there. I don't believe anything's going to happen.
So do we have equal justice in this country?
No, we don't, and it's very unfair. It's a very unfair situation. You mentioned the word prosecute. I don't think prosecute. I don't think this is prosecutable. Under the Presidential Records Act, there's no retribution or prosecution. You're supposed to negotiate. We're talking about documents. We're talking about documents that actually are being watched over to a certain extent, and I would say to a large extent by the Secret Service, if you think about it. But I can't imagine the word, you mentioned the word prosecution. I don't hear